Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator, Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by an impact fee technician who lists their favourite movie as A Nightmare on Elm Street and favourite TV show as Golden Girls. Welcome back to the show, Corrina Mabey.
What's up? How's it going? What's good?
Not too much. Could you be any more on brand? Shirt, cup.
What do you mean? It's my knockoff Bucky's / Stanley Cup.
With horror elements and Halloween Horror Night shirt.
This is my life though. Like, horror is not just a thing, it is a lifestyle for me. So it feels like spooky season all the time in this household. And that explains a lot of my delusions and problems probably in life, but whatever.
On that front,
don't be judging me.
But on that front, I think that probably fits in nicely with our topic this week. I imagine you really enjoyed this show because today we're getting our spooky, mysterious investigation hats on as we head out into the freezing cold of Alaska and review True Detective Night Country, the 4th season of the True Detective anthology series.
Yes.
This season, set in a fictional town of Ennis, Alaska, follows an investigation into the disappearance of 8 men from an isolated research station. What did you think of this one before we dig into it a bit deeper?
This was a fun show. Prior to you saying, hey, we gotta watch this, I didn't know what True Detective was. Which is bad because I've had Max for like the past year and a half, almost 2 years. And I've never thought to like check out True Detective.
And True Detective is like right up your alleyway of mixing true crime and horror elements.
Yep. So I feel like I have just been sleeping on this show. And since being introduced to season 4, I have, I think I finished season 1 or I came close to finishing season 1. And I'm on track to do the other 2 seasons as well because it's a pretty decent show.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
This season is the first one to carry a subtitle in the Night Country subtitle, which I think was a good choice. All of the others have just been called True Detective. And
yeah,
while they are all individual separate stories, there really was like no indication of that when season 2 hit. I think a lot of people were expecting, oh, we're just going to follow the same people. But then we got the trailer and I'm like, oh, wait, these are all different people. And then season 3 hit and did the same thing.
It was really weird. So while I was looking into the True Detective series, I was like searching and rummaging, trying to see what the like sub like plot title thing was for it, I guess. And there wasn't any until this one because I was like, oh, if this is called Night Country, then the other ones have to be called something different. Nothing. So it was very strange. It's kind of like it's weird because like American Horror Story is an anthology series, but aside from like the first season, like all of the other ones have like their extra titles with them when it first starts. It's not just like True Detective.
Yeah, I think moving forward, if they move forward, I think this subheading thing is a good idea. Like, I think it just makes it easier for new people to be like, oh, I can jump in now. Whereas,
yes,
if this had just been, oh, True Detective season 4, some people might have been like, oh God, I've got to catch up and watch the first 3 seasons. Maybe I won't watch this new one. Whereas now it's like, oh, it has its own subheading. It's obviously its own self-contained story. I can jump in at season 4.
Yeah, and like that was my first concern when you were telling me that we needed to watch this. I was like, well, I've never seen any of the other ones, so I got a lot of catching up to do. And you go, no, it's fine. You don't have to watch the other ones to understand this one. They're all different stories. I was like, damn. Although, like, I binge
different stories, different. Yeah, different stories, different like lead actors as well. This season led by Jodie Foster and Reis, both of whom I thought did phenomenal jobs in their portrayals of Liz Danvers and Evangeline Navarro, respectively.
Yes, Jodie Foster is queen. I love Jodie Foster so much. And like, I feel like when I was watching this, it was kind of like watching her in Silence of the Lambs, just
Mhm.
in like a different setting, but it was the same kind of vibe, you know? So I love Jodie Foster in that kind of element and realm.
One note I will have for Jodie Foster in this show is I never expected to see, what is she, like 60-year-old Jodie Foster having very aggressive sex.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shock for me because she's just always kind of been like non-sexualized, like in everything, and so the fact that this show kind of did that and took everybody into that element of Jodie Foster, it was very strange and very
It
unexpected.
was, yeah, a little awkward at times. Like, I just looked it up. She's 61 years old, and it was
That's
aggressive.
pretty full on. Yeah.
So yeah. But apart from that, I thought her performance was fantastic as like this high strung alcoholic detective who's like obviously battling a bunch of demons following the death of her son, and so maybe just a little dash of racism.
Yeah, she doesn't seem very fond of the natives in the town, which is a bit disappointing because the majority of everybody in this town is like Eskimo, I guess is what they're supposed to be. Yes. I don't want to offend anybody, but I feel like
Yeah,
that's
I
all thing.
just indigenous.
Indigenous, yeah, indigenous.
I'm not sure what the term is anymore.
Yeah, but like the fact that like the majority of everybody that makes up the population of this town is of that descent, and she's just kind of very like staunch, like no participation in it, no get the hula out of here, whatever kind of moment.
Yeah, like she's just totally against like all of their culture. Her adopted daughter, she's like really discouraging her from like tapping into her heritage and like
Yeah.
the painting on the chin and stuff like that. Like she's very anti um Inuit culture. Is that what it is?
Maybe I was kind of like disappointed in her character because of the fact that she was so negative towards that. And all all her adopted daughter wanted to do was really like find her true roots and kind of connect with people that are like her, and that she can relate more to. And it's just kind of sad to see her kind of go down that way.
But then like I think that's where the cool dynamic comes with Liz being teamed up with Evangeline Navarro. She at the beginning of the season clearly doesn't want to be around, but she's also going through a similar phase to what Liz's daughter is, where she's going out on this investigation and other indigenous people are asking her like, "Oh, what's your Inuit name?" essentially, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one. Like, what are you talking about?" And so she's going through this
Yeah.
whole process of self-discovery and tapping into her cultural heritage, and Liz is kind of getting dragged along on that journey as well, and I think that sort of softens her on the whole dynamic.
Yeah, like I couldn't really tell if she was just like kind of denouncing her heritage, and if like she was like angry towards that side of her or what have you, but she seemed very like reluctant at first to kind of want to embrace herself. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that all goes back into her history as well, like with her seemingly her mother committed suicide. Her sister obviously has some very strong mental health issues, which is kind of all tied into their beliefs in like being able to talk to the dead and stuff like that.
That Yes,
That
I think
was
she's just kind of reluctant to do that because she's afraid that she's going to go down that same hole.
yeah, but yeah, her performance was great. I thought she did a great job of like depicting someone clearly struggling with PTSD from her time in the Marines, and also like with
Yeah.
her cultural heritage, she kind of gets a little bit too wrapped up and too close to the case that precedes the scientist's disappearance
Yeah,
without
because
giving
it's
too much
like
away.
there's the main case of this, and then there's like the pre case
the
of
cold
this. Like,
case.
they're all connected, but there's like a cold case and a normal case, and it's really crazy.
Yeah, so I thought that all the performances were good, and Finn Bennett as Peter Pryor was really good as well. Fiona Shaw as Rose Agnew, she was great. The old lady talking to the
I love her.
random old man in the snow, who we later find out is dead.
Yeah, that was a really strange. This show had a lot of strange moments where I was like, are they alive or are they dead? Like, is that person like living or are they talking to a dead person? It was very like very hard to decipher who was actually alive and who was like not alive.
Mm-hmm. And that, I think that's one of the running threads through the 4 seasons of this whole concept of like time is a flat circle, where
Yeah.
the past is interacting with the present and vice versa, and it's all sort of playing on each other. But this season had the most sort of horror tone to it. Like there was straight up like single person walking through like a dark alleyway or a dark isolated building, and then jump scares and stuff like that, which we didn't sort of
Yeah.
have in any of the previous ones. Like we had season 1 has like this sort of weird like supernatural elk thing element, like the deer
Yeah.
man, like has that part, but it's definitely nowhere near as horror toned as this one, I don't think.
Yeah, because even in the opening sequence, I was just like, oh, this is
It's like
pretty
The Thing.
intense. Like parts of this are like, what the fuck? Yeah, exactly like The Thing. Like they're stranded in an Alaskan laboratory, and I was just like, I'm getting flashbacks all over the fucking place right now. So that was really, it was kind of crazy, but I appreciated it because it just kept you guessing like what actually happened to them, what occurred, this and that. Um so I really liked that. It kept me, it grabbed me enough to keep me curious throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And the music plays a big part in this as well. Like it's very sort of eerie, supernatural horror music as well.
I also love the fact that this show takes place during that whole 30 days of night thing in Alaska, where you like, I feel like that also helps with the whole like people possibly having delusions or whatever, is because they're so out of sorts with having to live in complete darkness 24 hours a day. There is no light. Like 1 o'clock in the afternoon is the same as like 10 o'clock at night, and that can lead to people going crazy in general.
And yeah, that's another cool element too, where even as a viewer watching the show, you're kind of looking at it being like, is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Like what time is it? How many days have passed since this all started to begin? But as the investigation gets underway, you sort of come to realize it takes place over like the first part, like how many days? Like 3 or 4 days when they're thawing out
Yeah.
the bodies.
It's really crazy.
But it
And
feels
when I
like
was
much
watching
longer.
this, it does. And so whenever I was watching this, originally I was like, wow, why is everything happening at night? And then I just went back in my head. I'm like, never mind. It's not. It's, like I said, like 10 o'clock in the morning. That's why she's having fucking coffee right now.
Yeah, and breakfast.
Breakfast.
Yeah, do you want breakfast? And it's like middle of the night. Like what?
Right? Yeah. So I really, really loved that element. I feel like if they had done this in like a normal season of Alaska, like it wouldn't have been the same vibe. It would have been cool, but it wouldn't have given you like that extra kind of like horror vibe kind of thing.
Yeah, and yeah, that was one of my notes I wrote down as well. Like great isolated location, and yeah, you mentioned like how the 30 Days of Night like plays into the whole aesthetic as well. One of the quotes that I wrote down was, "It's a long night, even the dead get bored," and
Mm-hmm.
like they really do. Like there is times where that Rose character is talking to the old man, and like
Yeah.
they're kind of doing it just because what else are we gonna do?
Yeah. I feel like Rose is probably my favorite. I like the main characters are great, but Rose was like one of my favorite like supporting role characters because she was such a badass, and she was just one of those people that you could call anytime and she'd be like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll help you.
I'll help you dispose of this body in the ice in the ocean.
Randomly, like, oh, yeah, absolutely middle of the night. Oh, it's gonna be one of those nights. All right, give me a second.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the 30 Days of Night like also echoes the whole, they're all like dealing with their own personal demons and darkness that's like hanging over them in this isolated town for 30 days. Like, oh, jeez. But then on the flip
Yeah,
side,
it's a
you also got to think like at the other half of the year, they have 30 days of daytime,
yeah, which would
which
drive
I
me
think would
fucking
be
insane.
worse.
Yeah. Like I could get through trying to feel sleepy all day because it's dark outside, but if it were like light all day long, I'd be fucked because I could not sleep. Like I'd have
You'd
tarps all over my windows.
need some serious blackout curtains.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what else did I? Oh, and yeah, like we mentioned, the season follows like the death of this group of scientists in this remote Alaskan research base, and I loved how it kind of weaved in elements of climate change and environment and capitalism, like the mine is so vital to this town, but it's also fucking up this town. Like it's
Yeah, destroying
poisoning
it.
everyone in town. And then, yeah, there's the
Yeah.
whole corruption element as well. And I think that's my favorite part about the True Detective series as a whole. Like, you have all of these really high level topics, but presented in a sort of almost Scooby Doo esque mystery where it's
Yeah.
kind of mysterious and supernaturally, but then as the puzzle pieces all start to fall together, you're like, oh, it's actually pretty straightforward and simple.
Yeah, I really, really liked it. The concept of it is really fun. And the way that it just played out was great. I don't feel like it was dragged out or anything like that. I feel the only problem I had, I think, with it and some of the parts was because it was so dark and desolate, there were a lot of like quiet moments like that were shown and just like you hear white noise from like snowstorms or whatever, so those were kind of just like, ooh, oh my god, I'm tired kind of moments, but for the most part it was really like kept me guessing, and I really really appreciated and liked that a lot.
On that front, this is the shortest season of True Detective as well. It was only
Oh,
this
okay.
season's only 6 episodes.
Hmm.
Every other season has been 8. So
Well, I feel like 6 was appropriate. I think that they did a really good job of utilizing their time properly, and I don't think it was dragged out. They had done 8 episodes, it might have been a little dragged out at that point.
yeah, I can't see where they could have added an extra 2 hours to make it make
Mm-mm.
sense. Like it was perfectly encapsulated in the 6 episodes, and if we only need 6 episodes to tell a strong story, that's only do 6 episodes. It's not stretch it for the sake of stretching it.
No, and I really like the fact that they were able to even shove in like backstories of the characters without exceeding like too long into like making too many episodes essentially. Like they were able to get multiple points across without it, being either too squished or too dragged out.
Mhm. Um, and on the sort of solving the case mystery front, I did like that the whole conceit of Danvers and her investigative technique is you solve the case by asking the right questions. And then
Yeah,
throughout the season, she's constantly urging Peter, the sort of young police officer, go ahead, ask the question. And he's just like constantly asking questions. She's like, nope, not the right question.
that's
Nope,
not the right
not the
one.
right
Yeah.
question. And she's teaching him by not like explicitly saying this is what you have to do. Like she's letting him learn through experience and
Hmm.
simply asking questions until he's sort of it twigs in his own mind, like, oh, this is what I have to do.
Yeah, she was actually a really great mentor. Like she seems very rough around the edges and like she doesn't really give a shit to be involved with a lot of people or make connections. Kind of like a lone wolf kind of moment, but she did really well mentoring him and kind of like explaining to him like this is what needs to happen. Like.
Um, and then yeah, the other big part was we mentioned sort of the whole conceit of spirituality versus mental health, and the sort of depiction of almost like schizophrenia. Like there's a lot of mental health elements at play in this season, which is really interesting.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like the the whole mental health element, I thought they did that in a really interesting way as well. Like particularly, what's her name? Navarro's sister. Like the way
Yes,
they
yes.
have her depict the whole mental health element is like heartbreaking and almost terrifying as well. Like she clearly just snaps at times like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, I felt so bad for her. Like it was a real rough kind of thing to watch with the way that she was, because it's like, she wants to do better and she says that she wants to do better, and then it's kind of like she can't. It's just not she keeps just like running through different things in her head, and she just like needs an escape essentially.
And I think that's a really like truthful depiction of mental health too. Like a lot of people that I've known that have had sort of mental health issues that they know there's a problem and they
Yeah.
want to fix it and they do everything they can, and then the next second the problems take hold and they can't fix it. Like they know
Yeah.
they probably like they know in themselves like I shouldn't be doing this, but they can't
Right.
help it.
Yeah, it's a sad truth, but yeah, it is a really good description in the way that they did it, or a depiction, sorry. Um, just utterly heartbreaking. Like her side story was really, really sad, honestly.
What else did we have here? The ancient symbol. That's another one of those like, is it a mental health issue? Is it a spirituality issue? Like I loved how there's that concept of have they kind of just been cursed by looking at this weird spiral thing, and
Yeah.
again like the whole spiral thing kind of ties all the seasons together as well.
Because there's always been like that weird kind of like symbolism and stuff like that, or there's always that one weird symbol that like is just present everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, and the
Um,
whole like time overlaps and stuff, like it all just plays in together.
yeah, that was a really fun kind of little bonus. Um, God, that other guy that's in here, the other police officer, I think he's like, isn't he her ex-husband or something like that? Or like
Uh
maybe they were involved, or like they were indicated that they were involved somehow with each other.
oh, the
I
one
forget
that
his fucking name.
she has sex with.
No, the one who has his scammy mail order bride that never shows up.
Oh, that's Peter, the young guy. It's his dad.
Okay, well, for some reason, I feel like they might have had a moment or something like that at one time, because
Hmm.
she's like so insulting to him, and there's just like a weird vibe between them every time that they're in the same room. He's a prick. I hope, like, I'm glad that he got what he deserved, because he's a straight up asshole, and I was laughing when he got scammed by his mail order bride slash like online girlfriend.
What a dumbass. That whole that whole time I was like, she not real, bro. She's definitely not real, bro.
No,
And I think
no.
even his son was like, just let him deal with it. Like, it's no harm, no foul. Like, he can have this pretend online girlfriend, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he realizes, wait, you didn't send her any money, did you?
Like
Dumbass.
all his fucking money is going to that. And it's like, oh my God, dude. Like, Jesus. But yeah, no, the guy that she screws is an asshole too. Like, he's just weird, but
Yeah.
he was kind of like a character that like I almost feel like he was necessary, but he honestly wasn't kind of necessary. Almost. He was just kind of there.
I think he was there just to kind of play into the whole corruption angle of this mine is so important to this town, so anybody will do anything to sort of keep it going. But it's
Yeah.
also, it is the reason for a lot of these issues, and particularly like contaminating the water, leading to a massive spate
Miscarriages.
of stillbirths. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Miscarriages, solars. It was awful. Like that scene where like she walks in and there's just like that huge utility shed with nothing but fucking coffins in it was like,
And not
ooh.
full size coffins, like
No, they were all
it'd
little
be baby
coffins.
coffins.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I feel like that it was the turning point for her, is when she realized like this is bigger than just like solving a murder at this point. Like, this is
Yeah, this is
essentially
bigger than
like,
8 scientists.
yeah, this is like a mass grave site essentially, and there's got to be a reasoning behind it. It's insane.
And that's another crazy thing. Like you think about living up in a place, such an isolated place like this town. yeah, they in winter, they can't actually bury anyone that dies. The
No,
ground
which
is too
is
high.
so
It's like, oh
sad.
shit.
Yeah, like, oof, oof.
Okay, don't die in winter, or we're gonna have to put you in the fridge for 6 months before we can actually dig
No,
a
just
hole.
stick them outside. It's like a freezer outside anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
That's
wonder if
terrible to
that
say.
building was like refrigerated or if it was just like they just let the air in.
Yeah, because it's so cold out there. I mean, like,
Just leave a window
everything's
open, it'll be
frozen
right.
solid. Oh my god.
The
Yeah, that was insane. That was insane.
the other constant element throughout this season too. What did you think of the polar bear?
So, this polar bear gave me a lot of problems because my dog does not like animals. And so I was in the middle of watching this fucking show, and my dog decided to wake up and bark at my TV
Try to fight a polar
uncontrollably.
bear.
Fucking Christ. Um, it's very interesting to me. It's kind of like one of those symbolic kind of things that just keeps popping up everywhere because, her son has that stuffed teddy bear, the stuffed polar bear with just the one eye. And so it keeps
Well,
popping
I
up
don't think
everywhere.
it
And I
had
feel
one
like
eye
it's
until the accident.
okay. Well,
I think it was the accident caused it to have one eye, and that's
okay.
the
Well,
lasting memory of it.
that's the sad thing though. And I feel like that's kind of just like her son in a way of like, just like showing her that like, he's watching her maybe or something like that in a weird kind of sense. And she doesn't want to kind of accept it maybe, or she just can't get closure from it because it's just still too fresh.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was at that moment I was like, these two characters are somehow linked, and I don't know how. And then
Yeah.
the way that they are linked is pretty full on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did love that sort of whole played into the small town mentality where kind of everyone knows everyone's business. Like
Yeah, it's
Peter and the other police, like they all knew something wasn't quite
when
right
like happened.
with
Right.
that investigation, but until Peter digs into it a bit more, nobody has any evidence as to what happened, so they kind of all just take their word for it.
Yeah, and then it kind of just gets like swept under the rug once it is kind of like figured out. It's kind of just like, yeah, we don't talk about that. Like,
Mhm.
just kind of let it go. It happened. It was unfortunate that it happened, but at the same time, it kind of saved us from having to do it anyway. So, one less fucking serial killer / kidnapper on the loose.
Yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, bad people die, whatever.
No worries.
She's like, he wasn't a good person anyway, so yeah, it's fine.
It worked itself out.
What else the one thing I did learn about thanks to this show, slab avalanches. Those things sound terrifying.
Like where they all like.
Well, a normal avalanche is where like all of the soft snow sitting on top of a mountain just falls down.
Yeah, the rest of it, the other one is like it slides, like it's like a sheet
Yeah, so a
kind of
slab
thing.
avalanche is where there's a layer of loose snow, but then
Mm-hmm.
all the snow on top has like compacted and hardened into a slab, essentially like a solid piece.
Yeah.
And then when that loose piece kicks out, this big heavy chunk just breaks off and slides down.
Boop, boop, boop.
I liked it. They were like, "Oh yeah, that's how all of these people died." I was like, "That's terrifying." Just walking
Yeah,
along, it's this big chunk of ice just falls at you. Like Jesus.
it's nuts. Also, the way that they were frozen all together, like in that like one ball of like ice, was absolutely bonkers. To like, I can't imagine like how long it took them to kind of like construct that entire kind of thing, because it was just there's so many working parts of it.
Yeah, arms and legs and bits hanging everywhere. It's like, what the hell?
And then when like the guy just like randomly breaks off the guy's arm accidentally, like,
She's like, get out!
don't touch
Stop touching
anything.
things.
Stop that.
Yeah, yeah. Props to
Oh
the
man.
prop department on that one. Like that would have
Mm-hmm.
taken a serious amount of time to put that together, but also like you can't just be willy nilly and like let's just shove a leg here and an arm here. Like all
It
of the
has to make
bodies are
sense.
still like connected.
No, most of the time, most of them are all in one piece. They're just together and
Yeah,
like,
it's like contorted, like crazy twister.
yeah. I also loved the fact that since they couldn't get a coroner in there to examine the bodies, they grabbed the fucking vet.
Let's just get the local vet.
I work on bodies. It's like animals. It's the same thing as a human body. It's fine. A cadaver is a cadaver kind of moment.
And the way he just decides that they were murdered was they look scared.
Yeah.
Something,
Like,
something scared them to death. They didn't just freeze. I was like, what the?
it's cardiac arrest. I've seen deers when they get scared and die.
I'm like, okay, that seems very scientific, bro.
Oh man, that cracked me the fuck up. I was just like, all right, well, yeah, it was some ridiculous kind of stuff right here.
And then before we get into a big spoiler for the ending, Ash wanted to touch on. So they filmed this. I don't know why they filmed this here in particular, but it's set in Alaska, but it was filmed in Iceland with a budget of $60 million, beginning in November 2022 and wrapping in April 2023. Why? Why didn't they just film it in Alaska? I guess it's because, like, maybe to get that 30 days of night, it's easier to film in Iceland, where I think they don't have to be as high up to get the 30 days of
Maybe
night. Whereas like Alaska, I think they have to be like out at the tippy top, which
pretty
would have
high
been
altitude.
just difficult and also like isolated. Like I don't think you can just fly in and out of that part of Alaska. Like you'd have to like
Yeah,
ship everything up there and then everyone would be up there for at least the 30 days. Whereas I think
right. And
Iceland you can
like,
just fly in and out of.
yeah, and I feel like
There's
with
hotels,
Alaska,
it's a bit nicer.
right. And with Alaska, not all of it is as like desolate looking all the time either. Like there's some parts of it that don't have any snow really, I feel. And also it's a matter of like getting that frozen kind of depth too, where you're also gonna like, potentially find the ocean or nothing else. Like, I don't know, I feel like it was a good call for them to just like kind of find like almost like a no man's land, because you never think of Iceland as like pristine spot, I guess, to visit. I don't know. Anytime I hear that, I think of that place. I just think it's always cold 24 fucking 7, and I have no desire to freeze my butt off all the time. So, sounds cool, but I don't want to. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, I think Iceland, like, really the only place you would want to visit would be Reykjavik. And then I think outside of that, it is pretty much like this place.
Yeah, just like
A
completely
couple of small towns out in the
empty.
middle of nowhere. There's a mine, and that's about it.
Yeah. So I think it's really cool though. I really did like the entire environment that they were in. I thought it was really interesting how they just had that random boat that was like stuck in the middle of that gigantic like ice field where
Mhm.
Navarro and her sister would go. It was a very interesting kind of like just added component to it.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of like the whole ice road truckers type thing where it's like 90% of the year, this is all water and lakes and stuff where we can use the water for transport. But
Mm-hmm.
then winter hits and we have 2 months where it's just frozen solid, so we have to truck it.
Yeah.
Like ice road truckers. It's a fun show.
Oh my God, you would. You like all the weird, stupid shows.
No.
Yeah, I even got you to watch Swamp People. That was the best show.
Alrighty. So now, before we close out the episode, a big spoiler with a question for you.
Oh boy.
Is Navarro dead or alive?
I think she dies at a point.
Yeah, no, that's
I
what I
think
mean.
she
Like,
dies at
at
a
the
point.
very
Oh,
end, is she alive or dead?
I believe she's dead at the end. I
Yeah.
think that coming to terms with the death of her sister was almost too much for her, and she didn't want to get to the stage that her sister got at, or that her mom got to. So she just decided to kind of beat that kind of part of her life and like kind of just do it on her own terms.
Yeah.
So that's my conclusion. Is I feel like that she did probably die at the end, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a real hard one. It left me very up in the air on which way it could have gone, because I could also see it being like she faked her death to just like escape, and like because she kind of feels like the whole curse thing that got her mum and her sister is like it follows people, and I
Yeah.
think I kind of get the impression that maybe she faked her death to like just escape, and no one knows where she is except for maybe um, Liz.
Danvers.
But like, yeah, she just kind of escaped, and that's her way of like breaking this curse. I'm dead. I'm not here anymore, so just leave me alone. I'm out.
Yeah. I don't know. It is a
It is
really
very
weird
much a
kind of
weird
thing to
ending
think
where you're
about.
like, she
I
could be
can't
alive, she
tell.
could be dead, but then she's like,
Also,
she's having the tea with Danvers, and it's like, so is she actually there, or is it like the same
yeah.
as Rose and the old man?
Yeah. Also, can we just take a minute to talk about how crazy that kitchen sequence was when the gun went off? Like, that was something that was like, this show was pretty tame for me as far as like violence and like, in your face, like things, like, or intense moments. Like, it's all just kind of been,
Oh no, it starts with a cut out tongue.
okay, but like,
It
this
didn't
was full
show that,
on
I
like
guess.
blow your brains. Yeah, they didn't really show that. This was like a full on like that guy got his brains blown, like
Yeah,
literally.
there was chunks on the wall.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he didn't fucking deserve it, but that was a very intense moment. And the fact that like the kid was just like, no, this is my mess, I gotta clean it up, kind of thing. I was just like, God damn. And
Yeah,
fuck.
cleaning up the chunks of your father's brain. Pretty intense moment. I think
And then also trying not to get caught.
he might have some serious PTSD after this.
Right? Not to mention, like, he didn't even have to, like, he couldn't even bury his dad. He had to literally, like, dispose of him in a hole in the ice. Like,
Which he then almost fell into.
yeah, that'd fuck anybody up.
Yeah. That's like a video I saw on TikTok the other day that's really fucked up. Like, these people were doing, like, these ice water plunge things.
Oh, the
And
polar
this,
plunges? Yeah.
yeah, and this woman jumps in and then realizes that the fucking current in the water under the ice is crazy fast, and she goes,
Oh, shit. Oh, my God.
and they never found her.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's just like, yeah, she just goes,
Lucky.
and then all of a sudden you just see her like, she's only like halfway down, and you see her start to go already. She's like, and you're like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, no. None of that sounds fun.
So yeah, maybe
At
check
all.
the fucking water before you go doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, usually
Make
polar
sure the water
plunges are a
is
little bit.
still.
Yeah, usually those are like more of like a controlled environment kind of thing.
Yeah, make sure it's like a lake, not a crazy ass river under there.
Yeah.
And then the last spoiler too, I love the way they solved the mystery with the little missing finger.
Yes. So yes, the finger shenanigans.
Yeah, I love how the way they ultimately solve who killed who, what happened, and everything
With the
is
finger
a
thing.
fingerprint missing a finger.
That must have been hard too. Like in my head when I was watching her try to like open that latch with just like the fingers, I was like, oh, that oof.
Yeah. So, and that was
also
that
kind
was
of
one of
crazy
those
though.
that was one of those breadcrumbs that I didn't really even pay attention to at the start. I just like, whatever, it's a weird fingerprint.
Yeah, that whole actually like scenario when they finally figured out like, who done it, that was an unexpected turn of events for me. Like I did not see it coming a mile away. I mean, I'm sure you did because you got a fucking keen eye for these kind of fucking things. Oh, okay. But yeah, they definitely did a really, really good job of making you guess like who the fuck was responsible for things or how the fuck did it happen, because it was just insane the amount of effort that went into covering up exactly what happened and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, and that's my favorite part of the True Detective series. Like they always do this whole like the whole season. You're like, oh, there has to be something like weird and supernatural about it. Like, but in the back of your head, you're always thinking, no, it's not. It's there's just detectives. Like they're gonna solve this crime. It's not supernatural. It's not crazy. And then the reveal is always like, holy shit, how did they do this and cover
Yeah,
it
it was
so
like
well? And I think this
in
one, it's
your
because
face the
they're
whole fucking
cleaners.
time. Yeah, like in your face the whole time, like just the last person you would have fucking expected.
Yeah, it's always such a cool reveal. And I do like that they always kind of leave it until like, they left it to the last episode, didn't they? And then
Yeah,
there's the whole big reveal, and then we get half an episode of, okay, now this is what's happening now.
yeah. It's just it was a very well done kind of conclusion to everything. And I loved it. I thought it was a perfect fucking twist at the end, really.
Yep. Yeah, and on that front, I think this is a massive return to form for True Detective. Um, season one, phenomenal. Season two, pretty solid. Season three definitely lost its way, and was kind of like, if that's the last one we ever get, well, it makes sense. Like they've run out of cool ideas, but then they've come back with this season. I'm like, okay, give me more. Like this was brilliant. I love this season.
Yeah, I also love the fact that I guess what I wasn't expecting is that this kind of a series would have such big names like Jodie Foster, and then when I looked at the first season, it was fucking Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. I was just
Hmm.
like, holy shit! Like, granted, I know it's HBO and they got money to throw everywhere, but I was just like, damn, like one of those things that I just kind of slept on, I guess.
Yeah, they get big names for this show. Like season one, Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, the two main characters.
Yeah,
Season two had Colin Farrell, Vince Vaughn, and Rachel McAdams,
yeah, it's
which was
major.
another really solid season. Then season three had Mahershala Ali, um, which was fun. And then yeah, this one, um, Jodie Foster, which was great.
Yeah, I did not expect to see like those kind of names pop up into like a show like this, but I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, so yeah, like I mentioned, it was a return to form. So like this was easily my second favorite of the four seasons. Very close to season one as well. So it's like
Yeah, I thoroughly
season one,
enjoyed
season
what I've
two,
seen.
a bit of a gap. Season one, season four, a bit of a gap to season two, and then a big drop for season three.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have enjoyed season one so far. I don't, yeah, and come to think of it, I don't think I finished it yet. I think I'm like halfway through of the season. But yeah, what I've seen of it, I really, really enjoy. So, I'm glad I kind of started with four at this point. Just so, you know, I don't have to go into it thinking every season's like that now because now I know that I can expect to be a little bit disappointed as I go on.
Mhm. So in terms of a rating for True Detective Night Country, what would you give this one out of five?
For me, this show is probably a good solid like four, 4.5. It's easily the best thing I've seen all year. Granted, it's only like a week into the year right now. Um, but I have like other shows on my list that I'm currently watching. So of the ones that I've seen so far, it was a really, really good show. And I've talked to everybody about it coming up, and I'm just like, I really think this is going to be a great season. Like I'm really excited for this. And you know, people were in shock that I had never seen it before. So, they were just like, "Oh yeah, you got to jump on board with season 4. It's probably going to be great." I'm like, "Sounds like it."
Yeah. Yeah, so I gave this one a five because like I said, it's back up there with the pinnacle of the series, and yeah, it's definitely one where you want to sit down, pay attention. It's only six episodes. Like it's still a commitment, but it's not 8 hour commitment, or actually a little bit longer because some of these episodes are just over an hour. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like sit down, commit to this, pay full attention, and just enjoy the ride and see if you can solve the mystery first.
Has it been announced yet if they're releasing the entire season at once, or is it going to be a weekly release? Do we know?
It'll be weekly, knowing
Okay.
HBO.
I just want to I didn't know, because sometimes I know that they release shows, and if they're not super popular or something like that, they just end up dropping the whole series, certain
Yeah.
platforms.
No,
So
I think this one
I wasn't aware.
they'll milk this one out for 6 weeks.
I mean, they're smart, so yeah, I would presume so. But it's definitely it was a good watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad I was able to watch it because, yeah,
Yeah. So fingers crossed we get more seasons. I think it'll all depend on.
how this does.
No, I think it'll depend on the writer. I'm trying to remember what his name is.
Oh
Nick
yeah,
Pizzolatto, the series creator. I think it'll all come down to does he have a new idea that like really grips him and something he's excited about, because the executives at HBO have said, like, if Nick has an idea that he's really excited about, we will take the meeting and we'll listen to it. So it'll all come down to that.
Well, I mean,
I don't want him
I'll
to
be
just make a
optimistic then.
season because they've asked him to make a season. Like, I want him to make a season because, like, this is a cool story. I know I can make this really cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope that we see more of it, and that they continue to be well done. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. True Detective Australia. Let's do it.
I mean, they already have NCIS out there in Sydney, so why not bring other crime dramas to Australia? Because you guys could have like a major crime out there with throwing people in the bush and stuff like that, and or getting eaten by crocodiles.
And just like the way they incorporated like the indigenous cultures for this one, like the Alaskan culture, I think they could do something really cool like that here with Aboriginal culture. So I would love to see
absolutely.
a True Detective down under.
I mean, that'd be fun. I mean, if not, then they could always just recreate that whole Wolf Creek incident.
Yeah. True Detective Australia, True Detective New Zealand would also be really cool with like Maori culture.
That'd be really fun. Stop, please.
Lots of possibilities.
I mean, we could do like a Florida man True Detective. That'd be fun. Stop.
Well, season 1's New Orleans. That's close.
It's a little different. Would you stop, please?
Alrighty. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Corrina on Instagram at Miss Corrina Renee, and you can follow me on social media at JamieUps Media and at Pario Magazine. The commentary booth is a fan-funded production of JamieUps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/JamieUps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.